Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Stadium Showdown. I'm Jeff Slauson. This week, we're going to be focusing fairly heavily on an announcement from the Senate Finance Committee. A potential third way we could see $600 million going from the state to the Cleveland Browns. Before we get to that, and Dan DeRose, who was actually in Columbus for that announcement, let's go through the first two payment plans that we have gotten to know over the last few months, starting with the plan presented by Governor Mike DeWine. That plan would be to double the sports gambling tax on earnings made by the gambling companies. So this would be paid essentially by the gambling companies. It would go from 20% to 40%. That profit would then be funneled directly into a system that could allow any professional sports team the chance to access it to use for a funding. And here's the thing. The governor would want to cap the state contributions at 40% of the total project. So hypothetically, let's say that the project is $100 million. The maximum amount the state could offer would be $40 million. Then a couple of weeks later, we learned about the state's plan, which was guided, I will say, I guess, by Haslam Sports Group. This plan would involve $600 million in bonds being done by the state. So the state would get these bonds, they would apply for the bonds, those bonds would then help pay for the stadium. The Browns would front $50 million, put that into escrow as an insurance policy to grow over 25 years. The 25 years is important because the bonds would be paid back via taxes from the stadium purchases over a 25-year period. So the idea is the $600 million would get paid back over a 25-year time. If they can't do that, the $50 million that the Browns would place in escrow would have grown to be able to kind of match what did and did not work. And now we have a third way. And as I mentioned, 19's Dan DeRose was in Columbus for that announcement. He has more on exactly why they feel this is such a strong proposal.
No one saw this coming when it was announced by the Ohio Senate Finance Committee on Tuesday. That's why I was down in Columbus, because this was big. In Ohio, there is the Division of Unclaimed Funds. Some of this money may even belong to you. It's bank accounts that have gone dormant, maybe class action lawsuits from some cell phone company. It was just tens of dollars that went to people that was never claimed. In the state of Ohio, there is $3.7 billion sitting in unclaimed funds. It belongs to Ohioans. The idea is, according to the Ohio Senate, let's take $1.7 billion of that and put it into a sports and culture fund. That money can be used for not just the Browns project, it could be used for sports all over Ohio. And when it's talking about culture, it could be for museums all across the state. Now, right away out of that $1.7 billion, they would like to take $600 million and give it to the Browns project. That will be paid back with the increased taxes from that mega Brook Park project. Just in the moments after this was announced, I was actually at the State House and was given a couple of minutes with the chair of the Senate Finance Committee, Senator Jerry Serino.
This was a surprise. This was way out of left field.
Well, it's a creative way to address a financing issue, but I think it's a great program. I think it checks all the boxes and doesn't jeopardize any assets from the state of Ohio, doesn't jeopardize the state's credit rating, and allows us to actually do something that is going to be positive to the general fund instead of taking money away from the general fund.
Now, what we saw on the House side of things, they wanted to take out a $600 million loan. You don't like that idea?
No, I never liked that from the beginning. I mean, it involves $400 million of debt service plus legal costs that could be in the tens of millions of dollars. And that the interest payments would be made from the general fund, which would jeopardize all of the other things that we're trying to fund. So this way, we've totally eliminated that. We've taken what I call lazy money sitting in unclaimed funds and putting it to work to create jobs, to create economic activity, and to help Brook Park become a real economic force in Northeast Ohio.
I noticed you said Brook Park. There's no talk about downtown.
No, the Browns are planning to move to Brook Park.
And that's good enough for you.
That's good enough for me.
Let's talk about the people at home. I asked you earlier, I'm being devil's advocate. That's my Grandpa Joe's bank account. I may not have known it was there, but why does that mean the state gets to take it now after 20 years?
Well, the state is taking it because it has not been claimed, and the escheatment process, which many states do, This is not the first time. And by the way, the state has borrowed money from unclaimed funds at least a dozen times in the past. So this is not a new concept. Our application of it is new. So look, we're putting $1 million more into the Commerce Department, who manages these funds, to make sure that they are doing a really even a more aggressive job of making sure that people are trying to be connected. People are connected to the funds that they have coming to them. Great efforts are made to try to reunite people with their funds, or if they're heirs of an estate, perhaps from the past. There is absolutely no risk for anybody to not be able to receive what they have coming to them on a valid claim. We've made sure of that.
This is just a proposal at this point. This is the Senate's version of what the House did back in April. There could be a vote as soon as next week on this because, again, there is that expedited timeline to get it on the governor's desk by the end of the month. Dan DeRose, 19 News.
All right, Dan, thanks so much. So what do the Haslams think about this Senate finance proposal? And in honesty, do they even care where the $600 million comes from as long as it goes toward their new stadium? 19 News anchor Brian Duffy joining us now. And Duff, this seems to be a fairly interesting proposition.
It really is interesting because it started with, we want the $600 million in bonds, and that's it. We don't want to hear about any other plans. And then the governor came out with that plan for the sports betting to raise the taxes, and the Haslam sports were like, no way, we don't want that. We just want the money from the bonds. And now this plan, the unclaimed funds, and really, as you said, it's just a matter of right now they want the cash. So
when it comes to the actual plan that has been discussed, the Browns initially were saying we want to make sure that it is coming from, a new source or a different source, and now they're saying that they potentially are okay with it coming from there, and then it could also be the governor as well. But the inverse of this, or I guess the additional side of this, is there's still a large chunk of money that we haven't heard about, which is the county has repeatedly said they're out on paying the $600 million. We did get some clarity on that as well, right, Duff?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, too. We got some clarity. I don't think we have full clarity because we're not specifically sure where the money that the county was supposed to put into this project is going to come from. All we know is that the Browns are saying it's private right now, but we don't know if the Haslam Sports Group is simply writing a check or if they're going to bring on some investors into this, or if they're just going to the bank and getting a loan on their own, or if Jimmy and Dee are just going to open the checkbook up and write a check. We did hear from Dave Jenkins. He is the COO of the Browns, which basically means he's the guy shuffling the money around. Let's listen to what he had to say about where this money is going to be coming from to kind of fit into this process now.
So we are working to solve and have zeroed in on a solve for the remaining balance that otherwise could have been available if the county had issued the bonds. It's a private solve, so it means we're taking on more risk. So that's where it would ultimately be.
So you would fill the gap.
Yes.
So on your screen right now, you're actually seeing a chart that shows what the old payment plan looked like. That was, again, courtesy of Haslam Sports Group. And then this is what the new one maybe looks like. It shows you that 3/4 is coming from private funding. But here's the thing that I want to touch on here, Duff. He said we, talking about Haslam Sports Group, would be taking on more risk in this. So there's a chance that it is just Haslam's entirely. It's a chance that they have brought in more investors. But what this definitively shows is, yeah, they are going to have a piece in fixing or at least filling in the rest of that $600 million, right?
Yeah, there's no question about that. No matter how they do it, if they do go out and look for the investors, which I'm basing this on nothing. This is just an opinion at this point. I think the Haslams are now into this thing for, what was the original figure, 1.2?
Yep.
So now it's 1.8. So now they want to make a $1.8 billion investment, and that's what they're going to do. No matter where that money comes from, it's going to ultimately be private money, and that's why clearly you think they bumped that. $50 million they were going to put in an escrow account basically to make sure that this was going to be repaid back, and now it's going to be $100 million, I believe, is what they've said they're now going to do.
Yeah, that's what the Senate proposal says. And also something to not forget, the Haslam's would also be responsible for any overruns as well. So it's looking like it could be a $2 billion project for them if any overruns take place, which has become standard, at least in part.
Standard procedure.
Yep.
And the Haslam's, let's remember too, Jeff, that the Haslam's are paying for the whole development around this. So, I mean, this is well, they could have investors in that. That's not going to be, what I mean is that's not going to be any county money, it's not going to be any Brook Park money, it's not going to be any money from anybody other than the Haslam's and maybe some investors. So they're going to have a lot of cash in this project, no question.
All right, Brian, thanks so much. And coming up after the break, how does the county feel about yet another plan to pay for the Brook Park Dome? We'll have that answer after a quick break. Welcome back. Now, predictably, the Cuyahoga County Executive, Chris Ronayne, not too pleased with the announcement from the State Finance Committee. I was at the press conference that he held earlier this week, and he explains precisely why he feels so uncomfortable with this new payment plan.
And frankly, your pocket is being picked to give $600 million to Haslam Sports Group for the sole purpose of their next version of Cleveland Browns Stadium. In the wake of that, we're seeing nearly $100 million cut from library funding from what was originally proposed by Governor DeWine. We're seeing cuts imminent to Medicaid in the state of Ohio. That $600 million giveaway, it's a pocket pick to you residents, could actually support 50,000 persons on Medicaid. It could support 15,000 new teachers in Ohio. But instead, they're giving it away. They're giving it away to Haslam Sports Group, $600 million of your taxpayer dollars. They're picking your pocket.
So why does he have more of an issue with this as opposed to some of the other ones? Well, let's think about how the Browns argued the earlier payment plans. They basically said, this is not taking money away from anything. This is just moving it from one place to another. But that would be different here. This is directly taking money, technically, away from everyday Ohioans. And that's why he feels that many are being cheated.
This budget, as proposed by the state Senate, is morally bankrupted. What they've come up with is a $1.7 billion fund for stadia across Ohio from your money. This is bypassing even a tax. It's going straight into a fund called unclaimed funds. That's your money. That's your family's money. That's your relatives' money. I urge you, Cuyahoggans, to look up what's in the unclaimedfunds.ohio.gov account for you, because that's what they're coming after. They're coming after roughly 18% of that fund for the sole purpose of building a stadium in Brook Park. To me, it's piracy.
Those feelings are exactly why the Cuyahoga County Executive has put an alert out, trying to tell people to go on and look to see how much money they potentially have, because he feels many may be shocked to learn they have $10, $20, $30, $100 in there that could go directly to a new stadium.
That's why today I say, watch your wallet. Don't let your pocket get picked. Check your own unclaimed funds at unclaimedfunds.ohio.gov. Make sure you get your money before they get your money.
And that is actually a question that we asked all of you at home earlier on this week. Have you checked if you have unclaimed funds? Yes, I check today, 10%. Yes, I check every month, 3%. Yes, I check every year, 16%. And here's the key, and this goes along directly with how the Cuyahoga County executive feels. 72% saying no, I have not checked. Of course, this poll is available at cleveland19.com/vote. And if you want to access any of our previous episodes, go ahead, scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's where you can find every single episode of the Stadium Showdown. We have an update from Brook Park after the break. Welcome back. Brook Park has said that they will have a presence in Columbus until the budget vote in late June, and it seems that that presence has been working. 19's Brittany Weir has more from these city council meetings.
Following shocking news out of Columbus regarding the Browns dome funding, Brook Park Mayor Edward Orcutt seems incredibly encouraged with the progress, believing that his administration can help get that funding needed for what he calls a transformational project.
We as a city will continue to fight hard for this project. It is something that will be great for this region. Most likely the largest project in the history of Cuyahoga County.
Weeks ago, Mayor Orcutt said that he feels it's important for Brook Park to have a representation in Columbus every day for the next few weeks. It's a commitment that seems to be paying off.
We have authority to protect you. This doesn't just mean they come in here and roll us over. We have authority as a municipality and we will be looking out for you. But today was an extremely great day for Northeast Ohio and the city of Brook Park.
On Tuesday, the Finance Committee announced their preferred Browns Stadium funding method that's using the $600 million in unclaimed funds instead of the originally proposed bonds. This is a plan that Mayor Orcutt believes could not only work, but work better than previous iterations.
They'll take $600 million from unclaimed funds. They'll put it and invest it into Brook Park and into a stadium. And then we are expected and estimated as residents to this great state to receive $36 million on that loan. This is not a handout. This is something we've been working very hard on. I've had great conversations with our legislators, with our House of Representatives, with our state senators. Had some conversation with Senator Serino today, the finance chair.
It's a plan Brook Park is behind, with a decision to continue to speak with state lawmakers daily.
He ended up sending a letter of support that we all signed to every senator in Columbus, all 33 of them, the governor and the lieutenant governor. We also sent a letter, the same letter of support individually, by the way, individually to every single representative, House of Representatives. There's 99 there.
More discussion is still needed, particularly with infrastructure changes needed to fit such a massive project and the potential loss of business that could be seen to the IX Center. With events going to the Brook Park facility, Mayor Orcutt acknowledged that while believing this would still be a net gain.
This could be a win-win for the whole area. And one thing you're not going to find Mayor Orcutt doing is being negative about economic development for the region. I think this is a win for both cities.
Brook Park plans to end their presence in Columbus around June 20th, 10 days before a final vote is due on the budget. In Brook Park, Brittany Weir, 19 News.
All right, Brittany, thanks so much. And now's the time of our show where we answer your questions. One question this week asked courtesy of Patrick Brophy. Why doesn't anyone ever discuss the fact that the Browns only play 8 home games? Even if they do book a few other dates for some events, it'll probably be just a few. The only person making any money out of the whole deal is Haslam. The Browns are arguing that they would get way more events with a domed stadium, but this brings up a very clear argument that the city has been offering, including the county as well. They don't believe there are that many events to go around, so naturally this would take events away from areas in downtown Cleveland, moving the economic center from downtown Cleveland into Brook Park, and that's an issue that many have. The Browns are also convinced they'll attract way more events that are outside of those that would be at Rocket Mortgage or places like that, right? But here's the thing. Those events may not exist. And that is exactly the problem that many have. There's no certainty that there will be a Super Bowl or a Final Four, things like that the Browns claim to have. So yeah, there is a chance that it's not that many more events and it's just the Dome somewhere else as opposed to being downtown. If you have any more questions at home, go ahead, scan the QR code on your screen right now. Love to hear from you all at home. And of course, love when you reach out to get some specifics as we near that June 30th deadline. And that is it for the latest episode of the Stadium Showdown. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to see any more of our previous coverage, go ahead, scan the QR code on our screen right now for every single episode. We will see all of you next week.